Hey Joe, how are you today?
I am amazing, Harris. Thanks for asking.
Appreciate your time, man. I'm looking forward to talking with you and going over your DRiV profile, a
hmm
new assessment that we're bringing into the world. As a expert in assessments, tell me a little bit about some of your thoughts. I know it was a couple of weeks ago, but tell me a little about your thoughts in just taking the assessment.
Yeah, I've taken quite a bit. I really like to know, outside of my expertise, MBTI, what else is out there. I know kind of Heil has said before, and you shouldn't trust anyone that doesn't have more than one tool. And I kind of thought a lot about that. And looking at the tools, what's out there, I really liked DRiV because I felt it was simple. I felt like I didn't have to reread the question a bunch of times. I feel like one of the biggest things with assessments is like, what is this question asking me? And it's either too long, confusing. And that was my first impression is like, oh, this is just like, this flows. This is easy. I know what it's asking me. Boom, boom, boom. And it was not too simplistic either. So it had this good thing of like conciseness, but also this is different than the next question.
I appreciate that. And that was one
Yeah.
of the reasons why we liked it. It can play really nicely with the different assessments that we have. It can play nicely with MBTI. It can play nice with EQI, some of the other smaller ones. And we hadn't really seen an assessment. It was all about what drives, what motivates you, what are your values, that I think this gets into really, really nicely. And if you're open to it, I'd love to go through the report with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. Let me share my screen here.
hmm
And you're able to see my screen here?
Looks great.
Perfect. So the first page here shows the DRiV model. And so the basis of the DRiV is that there are 28 different drivers, things that motivate us, that drive us, that drive human behavior. And those 28 different drivers are sectioned off into these 6 different factors. And so you have the connection factor, harmony, productivity, meaning, impact, and insight. And inside each one of these different factors, there are anywhere from 4 to 7 different drivers. And so the factor model is a way for us to showcase all of that. And then the drivers are really where the work is going to be done and what we're going to talk about for the majority of our time.
Okay.
This next page here is the DRiV profile. Let me just extend out a little bit.
hmm
And so what this does is it takes all 28 of those different drivers. And because certain ones are high for you and other ones are low for you, or what we call drainers, it puts you in one of these 12 different buckets. And it puts you in that entrepreneurial bucket. I'm in the builder bucket. I talk with people all the time who are in the steward or technician. It helps put
Okay.
a label to the different drivers that are around us. So as it would describe you, entrepreneur, creative, passionate, business mindset, motivated by thinking differently and controlling outcomes. Curious, Joe, kind of first glance at that, if that's something that you agree with.
I do agree with that. I would like to little sidebars that you great assessments will always assign archetypes to things so that people can conceptualize. Oh yeah, like I know the difference between an entrepreneur and a humanitarian. Like clearly they are different, but it kind of has a positive spin. But yes, entrepreneur. I think on the MBTI archetype, I would be an INTJ. So I do think they would not be classified as an entrepreneur, but when it says motivated by thinking differently and controlling outcomes, I don't think you could put that better. So I love that.
Awesome, awesome. I think you hit that spot on. People like to be able to label themselves as something for any different assessment. It's your way to remember, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a builder, I'm a traveler. And those are taken by whether you're task focused or people focused, and then leadership focused or individual. So for you, Joe, you're really high in that leadership and that task focus, where you might talk with somebody else who's maybe more people or individual focus. You're laughing. Tell me about that.
Oh, it's just funny because like one of the downfalls of my type is that it can be seen as like having no people focused mentality or being bad at relating to people in a like empathetic way. So it's just, I like that there's a correlation between other assessments I've taken. So I think it kind of validates or it makes it very reliable that that is my type.
Yeah, I love that. And your
Hmm.
type perspective and your type expertise is so helpful for this. And there's a lot of that that's going to come out. And I encourage you to pull on that thread as we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Moving to the third page here, I'll expand out a little bit so we can see it. So what this does is it rates you on all of those different factors. And so the insight, the drive for creativity, knowledge, and learning, really, really high for you, Joe. More than you do this, and this is a bigger driver for you, more than 99% of the population. And then kind of on the flip side there, connection, the drive to build relationships, work with others, more than 1% of the population. So pretty big difference there that we'll drill into as we go into all the specific drivers. Harmony there, drive to support and treat others well. Productivity, meaning, impact. So when we think about from a factor level, which is really going to be that top level, insight, impact, meaning going to be your three higher ones, and then the connection, harmony, productivity, going to be three of your lower ones. But when we think about where the work is going to happen, it's really going to happen at the driver level, which we'll drill into. The bottom is where we start to get into that driver, get into those different drivers. And so you'll see here are some things that drive you. Wisdom, thinking with a broad perspective, sharing insight and counsel. Authority, influencing and directing situations. Autonomy, being independent. Creativity, growth. 5 of your biggest drivers. And then on the flip side, 5 things that really drain you. And it doesn't mean you're bad at them. It just means that when you have to do them for a while, they're going to be things that drain you. And so service, deliberation, forgiveness, compliance. People laugh when they first see that at first. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad at it. It just means that in relation to all 28 of those different drivers, they're things that drain you. How do you think? What's your first gut reaction to that?
It's that it's accurate, and like you have to take these and go, not be insulted by it and go like, well, now at least I've labeled the things that I pretty much know about myself now. And then I go, okay, well, being forgiving, or like not getting so upset that I have to like deliberate with a bunch of people and get their ideas. You can use these as tools to go forward and be better.
That's exactly right. And your point is a good one. And let's drill into forgiveness, because people will see this and they'll say, whoa, I'm good at like I forgive people. That's not me. And so this isn't saying, again, that you're bad at forgiveness or bad at persistence and that you don't persist. Let's drill into that. So we'll go into forgiveness here. We're going to the harmony. And so this isn't necessarily saying that you're bad at forgiveness. What it says is on a spectrum of letting go and avoiding resentment or holding others accountable. You actually hold more, you tend to focus more on holding others accountable. And so you could do accountability. Low forgiveness means high accountability.
Right.
Different verbiage there, which tends to trip people up when they think and they're low on something that they're bad at. It actually just means you hold yourself to the other side of it. Which gets to your point of it's somewhere along the continuum line. And that's what all of these different ones are. So there's 28 drivers, but really you could argue that there's 56 different drivers. That low means high on something else. Just 28 is already a lot of drivers. And so we wanted to be able to keep that
smart,
consistent. Another one that tends to trip people up as well, collaboration. This doesn't mean that you're bad at collaboration and that you hate collaboration. It actually just said you're more driven by working independently. When given the choice between working independently or working in teams and alongside others, you tend to skew further on the collaboration line. And so another one, people, whoa, I'm collaborative. That's not me. That's not me. And so that's what this is saying, is that you're on one side or the other when given that different choice.
Yep.
My favorite page of the DRiV report is going to be page 10 here.
Yes, this is the best. This is like the best. If I could only take one page out of it, it'd be this page right here.
Exactly.
It should be on my wall. You know what I mean? Like it should be somewhere I can look at it and go, what is this task I have to do right now? Oh, it's inclusion. I understand why I'm already feeling drained by just thinking about it. So I feel that.
You hit that nail on the head. And so what this page does is it ranks all 28 drivers from 1 to 28 and how big of a driver they are for you. So the score of 99 means wisdom is a bigger driver for you than 99% of the population. And so you know that things that where you have to think with a broad perspective, share insight and counsel, that's really going to drive you. You're going to really enjoy doing those different things. On the flip side, when it's all around helping others, meeting others' needs and addressing their concerns, that's going to drain you a little bit. And if you spend a full day focusing on that, it's going to be difficult for you. We like to think of these as, think of 28 different advisors to you, 28 mentors, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they all are. And so you might lean into and think about them at different times, but when they're all lined up, you're going to pull on wisdom, you're going to pull on authority, autonomy, and creativity way more often than you're going to pull on deliberation, service, forgiveness, and persistence. Pretty accurate to you?
Pretty accurate to me. And I like how it is broken down, the color, and you can reference at the beginning. You could say, oh, that's part of, the orange. I forgot what the orange part is, but like these are all aspects of insight. So like I'm insight, but then you can see like I have 4 insights in the top 5 or 6, but then randomly I have compliance way down on an insight thing. So it is a dynamic look at you. And I think, it sounds like 28's that's way too many things. That's way too many facets of this, but it's really good to see it. And once you get to this page, I think people would have a hard time being like, well, that's flipped. That's all wrong. I think you'd be pretty accurate.
No, I love that. And we think about sectioning this off in groups of 20. And so when we're on this page 10, we'll go from 0 to 20. So anything in that 0 to 20 range, you are actively driven and pulled away from it. So towards the opposite pole. So anything from service up through inclusion, you're going to want to pull away from that. So we talked a little about those 2 different sides of the coin there. You're going to be pulled away from that. Anything from 20 to 40. So that's going to be from excellence to all the way up to purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it, but still you're going to want to be pulled away from it. You do it more often, but you're going to want to move away from it. Anywhere from that 40 through 60, total ambivalence. You actually do it as much as you don't. And so that's going to be charisma. That's going to be personal wealth, competition, recognition. All of those are kind of in that range. You're ambivalent about it. It's okay. You'll do it. You also go to the other side. Then from 60 to 80. So that's going to be from authenticity up through alignment. So 74. It's a relatively big driver for you. You want to do that, but at times you can actually pull to the other side. And then finally, from legacy all the way up through wisdom, these are deep, ingrained things for you. You're going to be pulled towards them. You're going to want to do them. When given the choice, you're going to go towards them almost all of the time. And so that's how we think about sectioning them off, is in those 5 different categories. And so when you think, Joe, what are the biggest 5 drivers? What are the biggest drivers for me? It's really going to be from legacy all the way up through wisdom.
Yeah.
Sure, if you'd agree with that, or what other thoughts you get from this page.
No, that is right. I mean, I thought there was one on there. I thought authenticity would be a little higher. I think that, just looking at how it's broken down, I thought that would be more in the 70s, 80s range. But I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, okay, well, maybe sometimes I'm not always my truest self all the time, either if I have to kind of flex to something else to get things done, something like that. So there are some things that I'm like, oh, interesting, but I'm not like saying this is wrong. So that's not at all what I get out of this.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. And to be honest, even there are maybe some ones that you disagree with and you say, hey, that's actually should be a bigger driver for me. It is a moment in time. So one that we very often hear is big for us at certain points in our career, and others, personal wealth. And so I'll talk with people when they're in the beginning of their middle of their career. Personal wealth is a huge driver for me. Then I'll talk with someone who's, say, at the end of their career, and it's actually the lowest one. And when somebody's constantly talking to them about personal wealth, that's not me. That's not what I care about. And so it is different in the MBTI in that it will change based on where you are in life. That can be pretty effective.
Yeah, agreed.
The next several pages all get into the so what. So what do we do from here? What do we do with this information? You'll see some information about, here's some development tips. So it goes through your top 5 drivers. Here's what drives you. Here's how you can lean into and do more wisdom. Here are things that are wisdom related that are really going to get you excited. here are things from an authority perspective that are going to get you excited, that are things that you want to do. And so it does that for all top 5 of your drivers. So wisdom, authority, autonomy, creativity, and growth. And then similar on the flip side, it'll do it for your bottom 5 drainers. And so there's going to be times, Joe, when you're going to have to be service. You're going to have to lean into service. There's going to be roles, there's going to be times, there's going to be experiences. And so what are opportunities for you to, one, just work on service a little bit? What are some development areas for you to work on service? Or is there a different driver that you can pull on that's going to lift service up for you? And so we have a workbook that goes along with this that says, here are some different ways that you can lift that up. So it's just a quick overview of the report. I think I'm going to take us to kind of just talking here.
Yeah.
As I've gone through it. Any initial thoughts, reactions?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always thinking about application. You said it perfectly. And in my presentations, I also do, and so what? And the so what-ness, it always needs to be addressed. You know, I'm going to take that page 11 of the report, print it out, put it on my fridge. And I also think about it in an org setting, like everyone could have this out, like, you know, what's Harris's drivers and drainers.
Wow.
There's no harm to having that used in a team setting. It's showing how everyone so when we approach these people, these types of conversations or tasks or whatever are going to be highly draining for them or highly motivating and driving to them. So I can already see the application across personal and like commercial aspects.
It's a really helpful tool for that manager and employee relationship. And so if my manager understands what I'm motivated by, what I'm driven by, we're going to be able to have a much more effective conversation. We have a tendency to want to motivate other individuals by what we're motivated by.
Yeah.
And very often that could be a drainer for them. And so as an example, if I'm very commercial focused, that's a high driver for me, and I'm talking with somebody who that's a huge drainer for them, and we're constantly talking about that, and I'm bringing that up in every single we are not going to connect. We're going to have a big trouble with communication. And so I think for that manager-employee relationship, it's a really, really helpful tool. I also think you mentioned it, but inside the org, where everybody here are their top 5 drivers inside the org, and you have an org chart with everybody with their 5 drivers underneath. I say, okay, if I'm going to talk with Joe, here are things that he's really driven by. And so if I want to effectively communicate with him, these are things that I really need to lean into and be cognizant of. And on the flip side, if I'm talking about things that drive you all day, you're going to get pretty bored and pretty annoyed with me pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would. It's good. You got to define these things. And I have to address those that are like, well, you know, the archetypes and or the boxes are just thematic outlines of a general sense of the way that you are, not that there aren't 500 different types of entrepreneurs or builders. So like, you know, I have to say the box, it is a box, but the box is 5,000 square miles and it will take you forever to navigate it. So don't get upset that there's a quote box. You know what I mean?
I think that that's a great point. And you do work with the MBTI all the time. That's maybe the biggest thing that people get annoyed with is
yes.
Don't put me in a box. Don't tell me I'm an ESFJ. I'm a millennial. I can change. That's and so that is part of the reason why we're excited about this is people don't like being put in a box, and these aren't necessarily put, yes, we'll sell you, but the point of it and the work of it is really going to be done at the driver level.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. The other thing I just like is from a motivation perspective, am I in the right career? Am I doing the right thing? If I'm in a role where I'm having to do things that drain me all the time, how am I being cognizant of that? How am I then understanding? And so, man, I'm feeling really drained at the end of the day. Oh, it's because I was doing a bunch of service, including deliberation work, when maybe instead I could be focusing on growth and wisdom and creativity. And so what are opportunities for me to schedule my day around things that drain me versus around things that drive me versus things that drain me?
Yeah. And it'd be easy to kind of put together a coaching. Like if you use this as your coaching model, it'd be like, okay, well, you know, we're going to focus on, you'd kind of go like wisdom and service as like the polar opposites, where it's like a little bit of service will do you well, but don't spend more than 2% of your day doing it, but use it a little bit. So like if I was a coach, I'd be like, lean into both sides, but don't overdo the draining part. And then I would just go, what's your second one? Second, and then your 27th or whatever.
Right. No, I think that's a great point. And then how are you being intentional about when you're
Mhm.
doing those things? And so if you had to lean into service maybe at the end of your 12-hour day at 6 p.m., that's going to be really, really hard for you. And so when are you at your freshest? And then can you do those things that drain you because you have to do them? Can you do them at times when you're going to be most efficient and most when you're at your best?
Yeah. And you can put a plan around that. I could see it already. So you could put tasks in place. Hey, 7 a.m. is when I'm most fresh. That's when I'll like do something selfless, or I'll volunteer or something in the morning, and then get that out of the way because it's good for you. And then go on to the other commercial wisdom, those kind of autonomy aspects that I really need.
Yeah, no, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. I mean, this is
Mm-hmm.
all about, which I know you and I and you and I and Kyle talked about, greater self-awareness that we can better self-manage.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding myself, what motivates, what drives, what are my values, helps me show up more intentionally so that I can be the best version of myself, which is why we love this tool. It gets underneath, it gets the why behind the what, why we
Mm-hmm.
do what we do, that we hadn't seen a tool that could effectively do that until this one. And so adding this in with the MBTI, which tells me how I'm hardwired, and the EQI, which shows me here are the behaviors that I show in the world. What's beneath that? What's the why behind why I'm an ESFJ and why you're,
Mm-hmm.
and so all of that we felt like could be so helpful to get to understand the full individual.
Right. Trifecta.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time, Joe. Thank you so much for going over this with me. Is there anything else I can do to be helpful?
No, this is great. I've taken a lot of assessments. Like I've said, there's some that I would not recommend, and I'd be very public about that if I needed to be. But I would say, like, yes, DRiV is actually one that is really useful. Advocate for it, and I think it's a good tool to what I do as well. So, I don't think anyone would be um, like they should take it. I think organizations would be well suited and helped greatly by at least looking into it. Um, I will probably share some of this on my LinkedIn so people can see how it actually looks, and they'll be like, "I'm sold."
Well, I appreciate your time, Joe. It's been awesome getting to know you. Keep doing the amazing work that you're doing. Thanks for letting me go over your DRiV with you and share it with our audience at OKA. And I'll look forward to continued conversations.
Cool. Appreciate it, Harris.
Thanks, Joe.